The final confrontation that everyone expected never happened. When Admiral Tejo's 1,000-ship fleet arrived at the Galactic Council homeworld of Prima Stella, they found the ancient government buildings empty and the ruling council already gone. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," reported the communications officer. "It appears to be from a group calling itself the Provisional Planetary Government. They are requesting permission to surrender." Admiral Tejo shook his head in amazement. The mighty Galactic Council that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years had collapsed before the human fleet even arrived. The revolution that had started in the underground cities of New Terra had spread so far and so fast that the old order had simply fallen apart. On the planet's surface, young aliens from dozens of species had taken control of their governments. The crystal elders of the Veltari had been replaced by reform leaders who wanted to use human terraforming techniques. The Nethian collective consciousness had fragmented into independent communities. Even the traditional Koresh hives had been overthrown by younger hives that embraced rapid expansion. The old rulers fled to the Outer Rim 3 months ago, explained the leader of the provisional government, a young Veltari named Clearthought whose crystal body pulsed with excited energy. They tried to maintain control, but too many worlds had declared independence. Too many populations had adopted human-style rapid growth. The old system simply could not function anymore. Dr. So Young, now in her 80s but still energetic thanks to new Terran medical technology, stood before the new galactic assembly that had formed in the old council chambers. Representatives from over 800 worlds filled the hall, but unlike the old council, they were not segregated by species or hierarchy. 35 years ago, the old council exiled humanity for being too aggressive, too expansionist, too unwilling to accept limits, So Young told the assembled delegates. They said our rapid growth would destroy galactic stability. Today we offer to share the techniques that have transformed a dead world into a garden paradise. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Delegates from hundreds of dead or dying worlds requested immediate assistance with terraforming projects. Species that had been limited to single planets for thousands of years wanted help establishing new colonies. Entire civilizations asked for access to human industrial techniques that could transform their societies. Engineer Wu Jin, now ancient but still brilliant, presented the assembly with plans for galactic infrastructure that would have been impossible under the old system. Space elevators, orbital habitats, interstellar transportation networks, and industrial complexes that could support massive population growth across thousands of worlds. The galaxy has room for trillions of sentient beings, Wu Jin explained to the amazed delegates. The old council kept populations small because they were afraid of change. We will show you how to grow safely and prosperously. But the most important presentation came from atmospheric engineer Ye Jin, who demonstrated the terraforming techniques that had transformed New Terra from a dead rock into a living world. Her bioengineered organisms could adapt to any planetary environment, creating breathable atmospheres and fertile soil in decades instead of millennia. Every dead world in the galaxy can be brought to life, Ye Jin announced. We have proven this is possible. Now we offer to teach these techniques to any species that wants to expand and grow. The old Galactic Council had controlled expansion by limiting access to habitable worlds. Under the new system, any world could be made habitable. The artificial scarcity that had justified the old hierarchy was revealed to be completely unnecessary. Metallurgist Dayun shared the secrets of the super-strong alloys that had made human industrial miracles possible. With access to these materials, any species could build the advanced infrastructure needed for rapid development. Construction that had taken centuries under the old system could now be completed in decades. We are not keeping these technologies secret, Daun told the assembly. Human success came from adaptation and innovation, not from hoarding knowledge. We want every species to have access to the tools they need to build better civilizations. Governor He Jin, now in her 80s and revered throughout the galaxy as the leader who had guided humanity's transformation, spoke to the assembly about the philosophy that had made human success possible. The old council taught that rapid change was dangerous, that expansion must be controlled, that growth must be limited, she said. We learned that the opposite is true. Rapid adaptation allows species to survive challenges that would destroy static civilizations. Unrestricted expansion provides resources and opportunities that benefit everyone. Unlimited growth creates prosperity that can be shared by all. The new Galactic Federation that emerged from these discussions was unlike anything that had existed before. Instead of species-based hierarchy, membership was based on worlds and communities. Instead of controlling expansion, the Federation actively supported the establishment of new colonies. Instead of limiting technology, the Federation encouraged the sharing of knowledge and innovation. Communications specialist Hyun Woo established the new Galactic Information Network that connected all member worlds instantly. Unlike the old Council's censored and controlled communications, the new network allowed free exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultural innovations between all species. The changes that followed were dramatic and rapid. Within 5 years, over 300 dead worlds had been successfully terraformed using human techniques. Alien populations that had been stable for millennia began growing rapidly as new colonies provided space and resources for expansion. The Industrial Revolution that had transformed New Terra spread throughout the galaxy. Fusion reactors based on New Terran energy crystals provided unlimited clean power. Manufacturing complexes built with human-designed alloys produced goods faster and more efficiently than ever before. Transportation networks using human engineering principles connected distant worlds in ways that had been impossible under the old system. But perhaps the most important change was cultural. The new generation of galactic citizens grew up believing that rapid change and expansion were normal and beneficial. Young beings from dozens of species worked together on terraforming projects, industrial development, and exploration missions that pushed the boundaries of known space. Captain Subin, now an admiral commanding mixed-species fleets, led exploration missions beyond the old galactic borders. They found dead systems that could be transformed into garden worlds, empty regions of space that could support massive orbital habitats, and resources that could fuel expansion for thousands of years. We have discovered that the galaxy is much larger and more full of possibilities than the old Council ever admitted, Subin reported. There is room here for every species to grow and expand without competing for limited resources. The children born on New Terra, now adults with children of their own, had become the teachers and leaders of galactic transformation. They traveled to alien worlds as advisors, helped establish new colonies as engineers, and served as examples of what was possible when a species refused to accept artificial limitations. Teacher Yu Jin, now very old but still active, established schools throughout the galaxy that taught human methods of rapid adaptation and innovation. Students from dozens of species learned that problems were opportunities, that challenges were chances to grow stronger, and that the word impossible was just an invitation to be more creative. As the story reached its conclusion, Dr. So Young stood in the observation deck of a research station, orbiting a planet that had been dead just 5 years earlier. Below her, green continents and blue oceans showed what human terraforming techniques could accomplish. Cities dotted the landscape, connected by transportation networks that carried beings from a dozen different species. They tried to bury us on a dead world, So Young said to her young assistant, a human Veltari hybrid, whose crystal-enhanced biology represented the future of galactic cooperation. They thought they were getting rid of the dangerous human influence forever. The assistant looked down at the thriving world below. What they actually did was give us the perfect laboratory to develop the techniques that would transform the entire galaxy. So Young smiled. They wanted to limit human expansion to protect galactic stability. Instead, they created the conditions that would make unlimited expansion possible for every species in the galaxy. In the distance, construction ships were building new orbital habitats that would house millions of beings. Terraforming vessels were heading to dead systems that would soon bloom with life. Exploration fleets were pushing into unmapped regions of space, searching for new worlds to transform and new possibilities to explore. The galaxy that had tried to contain human ambition had been transformed by human innovation. The rigid hierarchy that had justified human exile had been replaced by a cooperative federation that celebrated growth and change. The artificial scarcity that had limited expansion for millennia had been revealed as unnecessary and harmful. As the observation station rotated to show the stars beyond the terraformed planet, So Young thought about the message that humanity, 25 years after the exile, the Galactic Council would not have recognized the dead world where they had dumped 12 million humans to die. Kepler 442c, now officially called New Terra, had become the most advanced industrial civilization in the known galaxy. Engineer Wu Jin, now an old man but still sharp, stood in the central control room of Manufacturing Complex Alpha. Through the massive windows, he could see production lines that stretched for miles. Automated systems built everything from farming equipment to starship components, all powered by fusion reactors that used the planet's unique energy crystals. Daily production report announced the artificial intelligence that helped manage the complex. 347 new vehicles, 86 construction robots, 23 atmospheric processors, and components for 12 starships. All systems operating at 96% efficiency. The numbers would have been impossible on any other world. But New Terra's combination of human innovation, alien technology, and unique materials had created an industrial miracle. The planet's 22 million humans now controlled technology that surpassed anything the Galactic Council had ever developed. Physicist Dong Min had solved the energy problem that limited every other civilization. Using the energy crystals that Dr. So Young had discovered in the planet's core, he had built power generators that could run cities for centuries without fuel. The crystals absorbed energy from the planet's magnetic field and converted it directly into usable power. "We have more energy than we know what to do with," Dongmin told the Planetary Council. "We could power every world in this sector of the galaxy and still have surplus. Energy is no longer a limiting factor for human expansion." But it was Merchant Captain Sangho who had built the network that would change galactic politics forever. His trading ships now operated in over 300 star systems, always disguised as independent merchants or pirates. Alien governments competed desperately to buy human-made goods, not knowing they were enriching the species they had tried to destroy. "The black market demand is incredible," Sangho reported from his flagship. "Alien military forces are secretly replacing their equipment with human tools. Medical facilities across the galaxy use our devices. Some worlds have become completely dependent on human technology without realizing it. The humans were careful to maintain their secret. Each trading expedition used technology that was advanced but not impossibly so. They sold tools that were clearly superior to alien equipment, but not so advanced that they would raise suspicions about their origin. Space elevator engineer Nari had completed the orbital infrastructure that made this massive operation possible. 4 space elevators now connected the planet's surface to orbital facilities that included shipyards, manufacturing centers, and defensive platforms. The orbital ring around New Terra was larger and more sophisticated than anything the Galactic Council had ever built. "We can launch 1,000 ships at once if needed," Nari reported. "Our orbital facilities can build, repair, and supply vessels faster than any alien shipyard. When the time comes to reveal ourselves, we will have the industrial capacity to support massive fleet operations." The human population had grown beyond anyone's expectations. Natural births, improved medical technology, and immigration from hidden human colonies throughout the galaxy had brought the total to over 22 million. More importantly, the population was young, healthy, and completely committed to human expansion. The children and grandchildren of the original exiles had grown up with stories of the dead planet their ancestors had transformed into paradise. They saw no reason why humans should not do the same thing throughout the galaxy. To them, terraforming dead worlds and building advanced civilizations was simply what humans did. 25-year-old Captain Subin now commanded the Planetary Defense Force from the Orbital Command Center. Her ships patrolled the outer system, capturing alien probes and monitoring alien communications. Under her leadership, New Terra's defenses had become impregnable. "We detected another Council survey mission heading this way," Subin reported during the weekly security briefing. "It will suffer the same equipment failures as all the others. As far as the aliens know, this system is still empty space with a dead planet. But the most important work was happening in the intelligence networks that communications specialist Hyun Woo had built throughout the galaxy. His teams now had agents and contacts in dozens of alien governments, monitoring political developments and identifying potential allies. "The Galactic Council is falling apart," Hyun Woo announced to the planetary leadership. "The alliance that exiled us 25 years ago no longer exists in any meaningful way. Member species are in open conflict with each other, and younger generations are challenging the authority of traditional leaders. The cracks in galactic society had been growing for years. The rigid hierarchy that the Council imposed worked well when technology changed slowly and populations remained stable. But the spread of human technology and ideas through black market networks had accelerated change. Throughout the galaxy, young aliens who used human tools and learned human techniques began to question why their species accepted artificial limitations on growth and expansion. Underground movements on dozens of worlds demanded the right to colonize new planets and develop advanced technology. The Veltari Youth faction now controls 30% of their government, reported intelligence officer Minji. They are demanding an end to the expansion limits and want to establish new colonies using human terraforming techniques. Similar movements had appeared among the Nethians, where individual consciousness was growing stronger than collective identity. Some Nethian individuals had completely separated from their gas-form communities and were establishing independent settlements on frontier worlds. Even the Kuresh hive minds were experiencing internal conflicts. Some hives had adopted human-inspired ideas about rapid adaptation and aggressive expansion, putting them in direct conflict with more traditional hives that preferred slow, careful growth. The old galactic order is dying, Hyunwoo concluded. The question is what will replace it. The answer came when the first official alien delegation arrived at New Terra. A group of young Veltari leaders, representing the reform movement in their government, requested permission to visit the legendary human terraforming project. Governor Hyejin, now in her 70s but still the undisputed leader of New Terra, made a decision that surprised even her closest advisors. She agreed to receive the alien delegation openly, ending 25 years of secrecy about human survival and success. It is time, she announced to the Planetary Council. We have built something that the galaxy has never seen before. We have proven that humans can not only survive exile but thrive and grow stronger. The galaxy is ready to learn from us. The alien delegation that landed on New Terra saw things that challenged everything they thought they knew about planetary development. Cities that had been built in decades instead of centuries. Terraforming that had transformed a dead world into a garden paradise. Technology that surpassed anything their species had ever developed. But most shocking of all was the society itself. Multiple species working together under human leadership, sharing knowledge and resources, expanding rapidly to new worlds and new possibilities. It was everything the Galactic Council had said was impossible and dangerous. You have created something magnificent, said the lead Veltari delegate, her crystal body pulsing with amazed light patterns. Your species was exiled for being too aggressive, too expansionist. But what you have built here proves that rapid growth and expansion can create beauty and prosperity instead of destruction. Dr. So-young, now the planet's chief science advisor, gave the aliens a tour of the terraforming facilities. She showed them how dead soil had been transformed into fertile farmland, how poison atmosphere had been converted to breathable air, how barren rock had been turned into living ecosystems. This is what humans do, So-young explained simply. We see dead things and make them live. We see empty spaces and fill them with life and possibility. The Galactic Council called this dangerous, but we call it natural. The alien delegates returned to their homeworld with video recordings and technological samples that would transform galactic politics. Within months, reform movements across the galaxy were demanding access to human terraforming technology and the right to establish new colonies using human techniques. But the most important change was philosophical. The young aliens who had seen New Terra began to spread a new idea throughout the galaxy, that rapid change and expansion were not threats to be controlled, but opportunities to be embraced. As the 25th year ended, Governor Hyejin stood on the observation deck of the Orbital Command Center and looked out at the ships being built in the surrounding shipyards. Soon, very soon, it would be time for humans to leave their hidden paradise and return to the galaxy that had rejected them. But they would not return as refugees or supplicants. They would return as teachers, leaders, and liberators. The galaxy that had tried to bury humanity was about to discover what humans had learned in their 25 years of exile. That there were no limits to what could be accomplished when a species refused to accept the word. 35 years after the exile, Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the flagship New Terra's Pride and watched his fleet emerge from hyperspace at the edge of Galactic Council territory. He was now in his 70s, kept strong and healthy by medical technology that would have seemed like magic to the young officer who had stood trial decades ago. Behind him, 200 ships moved in perfect formation. They were not the desperate refugee vessels that had carried humans to exile, but advanced warships built from materials that did not exist anywhere else in the galaxy. Each ship could outfight any vessel the aliens had ever built. "Communications, open a channel to the lead ships," Tejo ordered. His voice carried the authority of someone who had helped transform a dead world into paradise. "All units, remember our mission. We are not here to conquer, but to liberate." The first stop was Frontier Station Beta, a trading post where Captain Sang-Ho had built one of his hidden supply bases. What had started as a single merchant ship 20 years ago had grown into a shadow government that influenced dozens of star systems. Sang-Ho met them at the station, his hair now gray but his eyes still bright with the excitement of a successful trader. "Admiral, welcome to the revolution," he said with a grin. "Half the galaxy is already using human technology without knowing it. The other half wants to know where they can get some." The station itself showed how much had changed. Alien workers used human tools to repair ships with human-designed components. The station's power systems, life support, and defensive weapons were all based on technology that had originated on New Terra. Human influence had spread throughout the galaxy like seeds on the wind. "The Galactic Council still exists," Sang-Ho reported, "but it only controls about 40% of the worlds it used to govern. The rest have either declared independence or are in open rebellion. Young aliens everywhere are demanding the right to expand and grow like humans do." Engineer Yu-Jin, now an elderly woman but still passionate about her work, had traveled with the fleet to see the galaxy that her students would inherit. The children she had taught in underground classrooms 30 years ago were now the ship captains, engineers, and leaders of humanity's return to space. "The students I taught in caves are now building cities on new worlds," she told Admiral Tejo proudly. "They never learned to accept limitations the way older generations did. They think terraforming dead planets and expanding to new systems is just normal life." The fleet's first major stop was New Helvetia, a frontier world where young Veltari rebels had established an independent colony, using stolen human terraforming technology. The crystal beings had transformed a barren asteroid belt into a thriving system of interconnected habitats. "Human ships detected on approach vector," announced the communications officer. "They are requesting permission to dock and—" "Admiral, they are welcoming us as liberators." The Veltari colony had grown to over 2 million individuals, all of them young beings who had rejected their species' traditional slow-growth philosophy. They had used modified human techniques to build crystal cities that floated in space, powered by energy systems based on new Terran technology. "We have waited for this day," said the colony leader, her crystal body blazing with excited light patterns. "We have studied human methods and human philosophy. We want to join your expansion into the galaxy." Admiral Tejo was amazed to see what the young aliens had accomplished. Their cities were beautiful and efficient. Their technology was advanced and their population was growing rapidly. They had proven that human ideas could work for other species too. But the most surprising news came from Deep Space Communications. Hyun-Woo, now the head of Galactic Intelligence, had been monitoring alien transmissions from his base on New Terra. His reports showed that the revolution had spread much further than anyone had expected. "Admiral, we are receiving messages of support from over 300 star systems," the communications officer reported. "Alien rebel movements across the galaxy are declaring their independence from the old council system. They are asking for human support and guidance. The old Galactic Council had tried to maintain order through rigid control and artificial limitations on growth. But exposure to human technology and philosophy had shown young aliens that rapid expansion and innovation were not dangerous, but natural and beneficial. On dozens of worlds, traditional alien governments were being challenged by younger generations who demanded the right to colonize new planets, develop advanced technology, and expand their populations beyond the limits imposed by the Council. Dr. So-Young, now traveling with the fleet as chief science advisor, was amazed by what they found at each system. Alien colonies that had used human terraforming techniques to transform dead worlds into gardens. Space habitats built with human engineering principles. Even entire species that had modified themselves using human genetic technologies. They have taken our ideas and made them their own, So Young observed. The galaxy is transforming itself using human innovation as the foundation. The most dramatic moment came when they reached the Nethian home system. The gas-form species that had once existed as a collective consciousness had fragmented into millions of individual beings. Some remained with the traditional collective, but others had established independent communities throughout the outer planets. We learned individuality from studying human society, explained one of the Nethian rebels. We discovered that individual consciousness allows for faster innovation and growth than collective thinking. We want to explore the galaxy as individuals, not as parts of a hive mind. Even the Koresh hives had changed. Several hive minds had adopted human-inspired rapid reproduction and expansion strategies. They had established new colonies throughout their region of space and were developing technology at a pace that alarmed their more traditional relatives. The old ways are dying, reported Captain Subin from her reconnaissance ship. The galaxy is dividing into two factions: those who embrace human-style rapid expansion and innovation, and those who cling to the old council system of controlled growth. But the biggest shock came when Admiral Tejo's fleet reached the edge of Council Core territory. They were met not by defensive fleets, but by delegations of young aliens from dozens of species who wanted to join the human expedition. "We have come to offer our allegiance," announced the leader of a group of young Veltari military officers. "Our governments still support the old council, but we believe in human methods. We want to help you establish a new galactic order based on growth and expansion, instead of limits and control." The alien rebels brought more than just moral support. They had ships, weapons, industrial facilities, and entire planetary populations ready to declare independence from the old order. The human fleet of 200 ships suddenly found itself leading a coalition of over 1,000 vessels, representing dozens of species. Communications. Officer Hyunwoo established contact with rebel movements throughout the galaxy. His network, built over decades of secret operations, now connected reform groups on hundreds of worlds. The revolution that had started in the caves of New Terra had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. "Admiral," Hyunwoo reported with excitement, "we are receiving surrender offers from 12 council member governments. They want to negotiate terms for joining the new Galactic Federation before their own populations overthrow them." The old Galactic Council, that had exiled humanity 35 years ago, was collapsing under the weight of its own contradictions. The rigid system that had justified human exile was being rejected by younger generations of aliens who had seen what was possible when limitations were removed. As Admiral Tejo's combined fleet approached the Council core worlds, he reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The aliens had tried to bury humanity on a dead world, expecting them to disappear quietly into history. Instead, humans had proven that rapid expansion and innovation were not threats to galactic stability, but the keys to galactic prosperity. They had shown that dead worlds could be brought to life, that young populations could grow strong quickly, and that cooperation between species could achieve more than any single species could accomplish alone. "Open a channel to all ships in the fleet," Admiral Tejo ordered. "All species, all vessels. Today we return to the galaxy that rejected us 35 years ago. But we return not as conquerors, but as teachers. We will show the galaxy what we learned during our exile, that there are no limits to what life can accomplish when it refuses to accept the word impossible." The response from the 1,000-ship fleet was overwhelming. Human voices, Veltari harmonic patterns, Nethian frequency modulations, and Koresh harmonic buzzing all combined into a sound that had never been heard before in galactic history. The voice of a truly united multi-species alliance based on shared principles instead of imposed hierarchy. Ahead of them lay the Council core worlds, where the old order waited to learn what the galaxy's future would hold. 5 years had passed since the transport ships left Kepler 442c. The aliens who had dumped 12 million humans on the dead planet probably thought they were all bones and dust by now. They were very wrong. Deep beneath the surface, New Sol hummed with activity. The underground city stretched for miles through connected cave systems and tunnels that Wu Jin's teams had carved from solid rock. Electric lights powered by geothermal generators lit the streets. Clean air flowed through ventilation systems that turned the planet's poison atmosphere into something humans could breathe. So Young walked through the agricultural district, checking on the crops that should not exist. Botanist Minseok had done the impossible, using seeds saved from Earth and alien plant samples stolen from crashed probes. He had created hybrid crops that could grow under artificial lights in the underground farms. The new rice variety is producing 30% more grain than Earth rice, Minseok told her proudly. And these vegetables can grow in soil that would kill normal plants. We are actually producing more food than we need. The population had grown too. 11,000 babies had been born in the underground cities. The children were stronger than their parents, adapted to the high radiation and low gravity of their new world. They ran through the tunnels laughing and playing games that Earth children could never imagine. Governor Hee-jin, as people now called her, stood in the command center watching reports come in from all over the planet. What had started as desperate survival had become something much bigger. Humans now lived in 12 major underground cities connected by a rail system that Wu Jin had built. Using magnetic levitation technology, the surface stations are ready for testing, reported atmospheric engineer Ye Jin. She had spent 5 years developing bacteria and algae that could slowly change the planet's atmosphere. I think we can create our first breathable air pocket within 6 months. But the most exciting news came from metallurgist Dayun. She had been studying the strange minerals that So Young found in the first week. I have created something incredible, she announced to the Leadership Council. This new metal alloy is stronger than anything in our databases. It is lighter than aluminum but harder than diamond. Wu Jin's eyes lit up. We could build ships with that, weapons, tools that would make the aliens' technology look like toys. Communications officer Hyun-woo had been busy too. His network of hidden antennas monitored alien communications across this part of the galaxy. The Galactic Council thinks we are all dead, he reported. They have divided our old colonies among themselves. But there is something else. Some alien species are starting to question the Council's decisions. 3 alien survey drones had visited the planet in the past year. All 3 had mysteriously disappeared. The aliens assumed they had been destroyed by radiation storms or equipment failure. They had no idea that human engineers had captured them, studied their technology, and added the useful parts to their own growing collection of advanced equipment. We are not just surviving, Hyejin told the Council. We are growing stronger, but we need to be patient. Let them think we are dead for now. The first surface expedition happened on a day when radiation levels were low. 50 volunteers in radiation suits climbed to the surface through carefully sealed airlocks. What they found surprised everyone. The planet was still mostly dead, but small changes were visible. In places where human wastewater had been carefully released, tiny green plants were starting to grow. Yejin's atmospheric bacteria had created small pockets of cleaner air around the underground city vents. It is working, So Young whispered, looking at the first green leaves that had grown on Kepler 442c in millions of years. We are actually bringing this planet to life. The surface expedition found something else important. Geologist Kitai discovered underground rivers that connected to vast water reserves beneath the planet's crust. There is enough water here to support millions more people, he told the excited Council. We just need to reach it. Work began immediately on the first surface installations. Using Dayun's new super-strong metals, construction teams built sealed domes that could maintain Earth's normal atmosphere and temperature. The first surface greenhouse was small, just big enough for a few dozen people to work, but it was a beginning. Inside the greenhouse, Minseok planted the first surface crops. The hybrid plants grew well under artificial lights and carefully controlled atmosphere, but more importantly, they began releasing oxygen into the sealed environment, making the air cleaner and more pleasant. Children born on New Terra, as the humans had started calling their planet, were different from their parents in many ways. They were taller, stronger, and could handle radiation that would make an Earth human sick. 10-year-old Jinho could carry equipment that would be heavy for an adult. 8-year-old Sumin could work in radiation suits for hours without getting tired. The children also thought differently. They had never known a world where humans were weak or had to bow to alien authority. When teacher Yujin told them stories about Earth and the Galactic Council, they listened like she was talking about ancient history. Why did humans let the aliens tell them what to do? Asked 12-year-old Dong-su during a history lesson. Yujin paused, thinking about how to answer. Because at that time, the aliens had better technology and more ships. Humans thought they had to follow alien rules to survive. But that was stupid, said 9-year-old Ha-young. Humans are better at building things and solving problems. We should have told the aliens to leave us alone. That was the moment Yujin realized something important. The children of New Terra were not going to be like their parents. They were not going to accept a galaxy where aliens made the rules and humans obeyed. They were going to be something new and possibly dangerous. The 5th year ended with a celebration that would have been impossible to imagine when the transport ships first arrived. 10,000 people gathered in the Grand Cavern, the largest space in New Seoul. They had food, clean air, warm homes, and hope for the future. Governor Hee-jin stood before the crowd and made a speech that would be remembered for generations. 5 years ago, the aliens thought they were throwing us away like garbage. They gave us a dead world and expected us to disappear. Instead, we have built something amazing. We have proven that humans can survive anywhere and make life grow where there was only death. The crowd cheered, but Hee-jin was not finished. But we are not done yet. This is only the beginning. One day we will return to the galaxy that rejected us. And when we do, we will show them what humans can really accomplish when no one is holding us back. As the celebration continued, So Young stood in her laboratory looking at samples of the new life forms that were beginning to appear on the planet's surface. The bacteria Yejin had created were evolving, becoming more efficient at processing the atmosphere. The hybrid plants were adapting to the soil and climate faster than anyone had expected. But the most amazing discovery was still secret. Hidden deep in the planet's core, So Young had found something that would change everything. Mineral formations that could generate almost unlimited clean energy, crystals that could store and transmit information in ways that would revolutionize technology, elements that did not exist anywhere else in the known galaxy. The aliens had tried to bury humanity on a worthless dead rock. Instead, they had given humans access to resources that would make them the most powerful species in the galaxy. So Young smiled as she locked the data away in her personal files. That information would be humanity's secret weapon when the time came to leave their underground cities and reclaim their place among the stars. 15 years after the exile, Captain Subin stood on the observation deck of the orbital station and looked down at Kepler 442c. What she saw would have shocked any alien who remembered the dead rock where humans had been, dumped to die. Green patches covered almost 20% of the planet's surface. Clouds moved across blue skies in the terraformed regions. Cities dotted the landscape, connected by silver rails that carried magnetic trains at incredible speeds. 3 space elevators reached up from the surface carrying people and materials to the growing orbital facilities. Traffic control to Captain Subin, came a voice through her communicator. We have another alien trading vessel requesting permission to dock. That makes 12 this month, Subin smiled. The aliens were coming to them now, pretending to be pirates and smugglers but really representing their governments. Everyone wanted human technology, even if they had to get it through secret deals that officially did not exist. Down on the planet's surface, atmospheric engineer Yejin walked through the central garden of New Busan, the first fully surface city. Trees from Earth grew next to alien plants that had been modified to thrive in the new atmosphere. Children played on grass that their grandparents could never have imagined growing on this world. The air was clean enough to breathe without filters in most areas. Yejin's bioengineered organisms had done their work well, converting the poison atmosphere into something that could support Earth life. But they had done more than that. The new atmosphere was actually better than Earth's original air, with more oxygen and fewer pollutants. The atmospheric conversion is ahead of schedule, Yejin reported to the Planetary Council. We should have full breathable atmosphere across 60% of the planet within 5 years. The remaining areas will follow soon after. Agricultural engineer Min Seok had achieved something that alien scientists said was impossible. He had created a complete ecosystem from nothing. His hybrid crops now fed not just the human population of 18 million, but also a growing number of animals that had been brought from Earth and modified to survive in the new environment. In the vast agricultural valleys, Earth cattle grazed alongside 6-legged creatures that had originally come from Veltari worlds. Modified Earth wheat grew in fields next to purple grain that produced twice as much food per acre. The planet that had been completely dead now supported more life than most worlds in the galaxy. But it was the children who truly showed how much had changed. 20-year-old Min Jung, who had found the first cave system as a child, now led exploration teams to the planet's 3 moons. The young people born on New Terra were not just adapted to their world. They were superior to baseline humans in almost every way. They were stronger, faster, and could think more clearly in high-stress situations. Most importantly, they had grown up believing that humans were the most capable species in the galaxy. They had never learned to fear aliens or accept limitations on human expansion. "Why should we hide what we have accomplished?" asked 18-year-old Dongsu during a council meeting. He was now old enough to serve on exploration teams. "The aliens tried to kill us and failed. We should tell the galaxy that humans are back and stronger than ever." Governor Haye Jin, now in her 60s but still sharp and strong, listened to the young man's argument. She understood his impatience, but she also remembered the desperation of the early years. "Because we are not ready yet," she replied. "We have built something amazing, but the aliens still have thousands of worlds and billions of ships. We need to be smarter, not just stronger." The secret that kept humans safe was their control of information. Communications officer Hyun Woo, now head of planetary intelligence, had built a network that monitored alien communications across half the galaxy. More importantly, he had learned to manipulate those communications. When Galactic Council survey ships were sent to check on Kepler 442c, they received false data that showed a dead planet with radiation storms and equipment failures. The probe ships that actually reached the planet were captured so quickly and quietly that the Council never knew they had been lost. "The aliens think we died out years ago," Hyunwoo reported. "They have stopped sending survey missions. In their records, Kepler 442c is listed as a failed experiment that does not need further attention." This invisibility allowed human traders to operate throughout the galaxy. Merchant Captain Sang Ho led a fleet of disguised ships that traded human-made goods for alien technology and resources. The aliens thought they were dealing with a new species that had recently achieved space travel. Human technology was becoming legendary in the black markets. Tools made from Daeun's super-strong alloys could cut through materials that no alien equipment could touch. Medical devices created by human doctors could cure diseases that alien medicine had given up on. Computers built with hybrid human-alien technology could solve problems in minutes that took alien systems hours. "We are becoming rich," reported Economic Coordinator Ji Hoon. "The aliens are paying incredible prices for our basic tools. We have enough resources now to build whatever we want." What humans wanted to build were ships, in hidden shipyards on the dark side of the planet's largest moon. Construction teams worked on vessels designed with the best of human engineering and alien technology. These ships were faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. Dr. So Young, now the planet's chief science advisor, made the discovery that would change everything. Deep in the planet's core, automated mining systems had found deposits of elements that did not exist anywhere else in the known galaxy. These materials could store energy in ways that made fusion power look primitive. With these power sources, we could build ships that travel between star systems in days instead of months, So Young explained to the council. We could power cities that would make the alien capitals look like small towns. We have found something that will give us a decisive advantage. But the most important discovery was not technological. It was political. Hyunwoo's intelligence network had detected growing unrest throughout the Galactic Council. Younger generations of aliens were questioning the rigid hierarchy that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The Veltari youth movements are demanding representation in their government, Hyunwoo reported. Some Nethian individuals are breaking away from their collective consciousness. Even the Kuresh hives are showing signs of internal conflict. The old order is starting to crack. Small groups of alien rebels had already made contact with human traders. They wanted to learn about human society and technology. Some had even requested permission to visit New Terra and see the terraforming project for themselves. They are inspired by what we have accomplished, said Subin, who had met with several alien delegations. Young aliens across the galaxy are starting to believe that rapid change and expansion are possible. The Council's philosophy of slow, controlled growth is being challenged. The most dramatic change came when the first alien refugees arrived on New Terra. A group of young Veltari scientists, led by a crystal being called Brightstar, had fled their homeworld after being arrested for studying human terraforming techniques. We want to learn, Brightstar told the Human Council through a translation device. Your species has shown that dead worlds can live. Your people prove that small populations can grow strong quickly. This knowledge should be shared, not hidden. Governor Hyjin made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. "You are welcome here," she told the alien refugees. "But understand that this planet follows human rules. We do not accept the limitations that the Galactic Council tried to impose on us." As the 15th year ended, New Terra had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A world where multiple species work together under human leadership, using human technology and human philosophy to create something entirely new. The planet that was supposed to be humanity's grave had become the birthplace of a new kind of civilization, one that valued growth over stability, innovation over tradition, and cooperation over hierarchy. In the orbital shipyards, construction teams put the finishing touches on the first wave of exploration vessels. Soon, humans would return to the galaxy that had rejected them, but they would not return as the same species that had been exiled 15 years earlier. They would return as leaders of a revolution that would reshape the galaxy forever. The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slammed shut with a sound that echoed through the crystal walls. Admiral Tejo stood in the center of the room, his hands bound behind his back. Around him, the alien judges sat on their high platforms looking down at him like he was nothing more than an insect. The Veltari spoke first. Their bodies were made of living crystal that glowed with cold blue light. "Human Admiral Tejo, you and your species have been found guilty of aggressive expansion across the galaxy." Tejo kept his face calm, but inside his heart was beating fast. He had known this day would come. Humans had spread to over 200 worlds in just 50 years. They built cities, farms, and factories wherever they went. Other alien species took thousands of years to do what humans did in decades. "Your species refuses to follow the population limits we set," said a Nethian judge. The gas-form alien's voice came from a floating cloud of green vapor. "You multiply too fast. You take too many resources. You change planets too quickly." The third judge was from the Kuresh hive mind. Thousands of small bug-like creatures formed one giant shape that spoke with one voice. "Humans are a disease that spreads across the galaxy. You must be stopped before you destroy everything." Dr. So-Young sat in the observer section, watching her friend stand trial. She was Earth's best scientist who studied alien life. Her hands shook as she listened to the charges. She had spent years trying to make peace between humans and aliens. Now she could see it was all for nothing. "What is your sentence?" Tejo asked. His voice was steady and strong. The Veltari judge's crystal body flashed brighter. "Exile. All humans will be removed from settled space. You will be taken to Kepler 442c, a dead world at the edge of the galaxy. There you will stay forever," So-Young gasped. Kepler 442c was a nightmare planet. No air, no water, constant radiation storms. Nothing could live there. It was a death sentence disguised as mercy. 12 million humans will be loaded onto transport ships immediately. The Nethian continued. "You have 1 day to prepare. Take only what you can carry." Tejo finally spoke up. "And if we refuse?" The Koresh hive mind buzzed with angry sounds. "Then we will destroy every human world. Your choice is exile or extinction." The trial was over. Guards led Tejo away while So-Young watched helplessly. Outside the chamber, panic had already started. Human families ran through the streets carrying bags and crying children. Ships landed in every city to collect people. So-Young found herself pushed onto Transport Ship 7 with 300 other humans. The ship was meant to hold 150 people, but the aliens did not care about comfort. People sat on floors, shared sleeping spaces, and waited in long lines for food. On the ship, So-Young met Commander Hyjin, a military officer who was trying to keep people organized. "We need to stay calm," Hyjin told everyone. "We will survive this." Engineer Wu Jin was already working. He had found some old tablets and was drawing plans. "If the planet has minerals, we can build things," he said to anyone who would listen. "Underground shelters first, then power systems." The journey to Kepler 442c took 3 months. Every day, people died from the crowded conditions. But every day, others planned for what came next. Teachers like Eugene organized classes for children. Doctors like Jiwoo rationed medical supplies. Farmers like Minseok saved every seed they could find. So-Young spent her time studying what little information they had about their new prison planet. The data was not good. Surface temperature of -40 degrees. Atmosphere of mostly carbon dioxide with poison gases. Radiation levels that would kill most life in hours. The aliens had chosen well if they wanted humans to die slowly, but humans were stubborn. Communications officer Hyun-woo managed to intercept alien broadcasts. He learned their languages and monitored their fleet movements. They think we will be dead in 6 months, he told So Young quietly. They are already planning to divide our old colonies among themselves. When they finally reached Kepler 442c, the sight was worse than anyone imagined. The planet looked like a giant ball of brown dirt and gray rock. No clouds, no green, no signs of life anywhere. Ancient meteor craters covered the surface like scars. The alien transport ships dropped supply containers onto the planet's surface, then left quickly. They did not even wait to see if the humans survived the landing. 12 million people were suddenly alone on a dead world, with only basic tools and a few months of food. Commander Hyojin took charge immediately. Everyone underground within 48 hours, she ordered. Use the craters for shelter. Build life support systems first, worry about comfort later. Wu Jin and his engineers worked without sleep. They used salvaged ship parts to build air recyclers and heating units. The first underground shelters were small, dark and cold, but they kept people alive. So Young set up a laboratory in a cave and began testing everything she could find. The planet's soil was full of strange minerals she had never seen before. The rocks contained metals that might be useful. Even the poison atmosphere had gases that could be separated and used. The first week was terrible. 30 people died from exposure before the shelters were ready. Food was running low. The recycled air smelled bad and made people sick. Many humans cried and asked why this had happened to them. But on the 8th day, something changed. A group of children, led by a girl named Min Jung, found a cave system that went deep underground. The caves were warmer and had ice that could be melted for water. Suddenly, humans had hope. Look at this, So Young told Hee-jin, showing her mineral samples. These rocks have everything we need to build advanced technology. The aliens thought they were dumping us on a worthless world, but they might have given us something valuable. Wu Jin was already designing bigger shelters. We can build entire cities underground, connect them with tunnels, create our own atmosphere in sealed chambers. As the transport ships disappeared into space, the aliens thought they had solved their human problem. They returned to their comfortable worlds, confident that the dangerous human species would soon be extinct. They were wrong. In the dark caves of Kepler 442c, 12 million humans were not giving up. They were planning, building, and preparing. The aliens had tried to bury humanity on a dead world. Instead, they had planted the seeds of something much more dangerous than they could imagine.